everybody, it's your girl Sherry, and welcome back to another episode of Alleged Actually Podcast. Today, it's just me because I'm going to do a Sherry quick snip, though I'm not sure how quick it's going to be because we are going to get down to some Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion talk. Part 1 aired on Sunday. But before we get into it, let me just say a few things. First off, if you're new, welcome. Over here, we do reality TV recaps and we get into pop culture segments. Got some exciting things coming. I am about to do a collab with Sins and Survivors podcast. We did one last year on the tragedy of Mark and Debbie Constantino that were stars of the reality show Ghost Adventures. Y'all, that was a great piece. Thank you all that continue to watch it and support it. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. Sadly, that couple that were stars of Ghost Adventures with Zach Baggins, their lives ended tragically in a murder-suicide at the hands of Mark Constantino. Compelling story. Listen, if you haven't, trust me, check it out. But we are going to come together and we are going to do a piece on the unbelievable case of the former gigolo from Cowboys for Angels from the Showtime reality show, Ash Armand. And he was actually named in the Diddy case. So, God, there's so much to unpack there. You will not want to miss this very important collab. It is a very interesting story, lots of depths and layers to it. He sadly murdered a young woman named Herlene, and we're just going to get all into the details of that. So there's that. So if you enjoy the deep conversations that we have over here, the deep dives, Bria and I still have some deep dives on the schedule too that we're going to be dropping soon. So yeah, so there's that. And of course, those of you that constantly support the Bravo Bestie Breakdown segment we do, myself and Joey, that will be back this week on Wednesday. We'll be talking all things The Valley. And we're going to give you our thoughts on the finale of Love Island. Child, listen, I was Team Amaya Papaya. I was not disappointed, but there is so much, but I'm going to reserve that for me and Joey to discuss on Wednesday. So you got to come back and join us. And like I said, if you're new, welcome. If you have come here before and you're not subscribed yet, y'all, what you waiting for? Go ahead and subscribe. We are trying to get to our next goal of 6K subscribers. We are at 5.42 right now. So we're getting there. So y'all, please, if you come and frequent the channel, or even if you're new and you would like to continue to listen to our good content, please subscribe and give us the thumbs up. Go ahead and like this video. Share with a friend. When I find something good, I like to share it with the people I love. So please share this video. Pushes out the algorithm. Listen, YouTube has been tripping lately. So help us out. Help a sister out. We work hard over here. Let me also say that I have not been as consistent as I have been in the past. There's been a lot going on in my personal life. I've had a lot of death in my family. I've also just got over a sinus infection. So I've been missing in action here and there. But y'all, things are getting back on track. So bear with us and keep tuning in. We are going to be more consistent. Bravo has just been coming with the shows. We got Real Housewives of Atlanta that I'm going to be doing the reunion. So look on Tuesdays for that. And Joey and I will be doing the Bravo Bestie Breakdown on Wednesday. And that could possibly move to Thursday because we want to include Real Housewives of Miami in that lineup. Real Housewives of Orange County has now joined the lineup. And guys, I'm on the fence. The first episode really had me tight, okay? Because I am not here for another season where we're going to watch them group up and be mean to someone else. Now it's Katie. Granted, Katie may have not been the most forthcoming, but I feel like the way that she was treated at the reunion, she had every right to be in her feelings and kind of try to get her licks back. I am just disgusted that Tamara is using her diagnosis as an excuse to be the horrible person that she is, and even Emily on the bandwagon continuing to be mean and doubling down on the fact that, girl, you were talking about Heather, and children overhear and repeat things. It happens. It just, y'all, that if the first episode is any indication of what we're in for this season, I don't even know if I can talk about it. But I digress. We shall see. Now that we got all the admin stuff out of the way and my rambling, let's get down to what I'm here for. I want to talk to you all about the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 16 reunion part 1. Season 16, let me just say, I was really worried about Atlanta. The season, though very controversial with what happened with Kenya exposing Brit with those salacious photos blown up at her hair spa event. There was a lot of momentum built up for that moment. We watched it. It was a lot. Kenya was booted off the show. Then we proceed to watch Brit be one of the worst cast choices ever. I mean, really and truly. She brought nothing. I did not enjoy her at all. And we find, y'all, that she was a no-show at the reunion, which really, the one thing that she owed us was to come and allow these women to make her be accountable for her actions, some of the things that she said about them, some of the things that she revealed that allegedly could have been lies. We don't know. But, to not show up and to now have a lawsuit pending against Bravo. With on one hand, you say that it's because of how they exposed her by allowing Kenya to, put that out there with those risque photos of her, and then to double down and say, well, those photos weren't of me. Y'all, it's just a hot mess. I really think Bravo has to get savvier, particularly, in my opinion, with, it's hard to, if you want to come on that show to say you've never seen it. Most people have. Atlanta was huge. If you reside in Atlanta, of course you watched it. But when you bring on fans, that's what you get. And to find the women that really have it, they say Atlanta is the fake it till you make it state. Or Georgia, Atlanta's fake it till you make it city, not state. Forgive me, y'all. And I'm going to say, yeah, that's pretty accurate. So to find someone that, can really walk the walk and talk the talk, or even, like you had your Angela Oakley's that was honest about her situation. She's married to Charles Oakley, but, she lost money on her real estate deals. I mean, I'd rather see that than someone looking at private planes and going to Range Rover, girl, G-Wagon dealerships. No, it just, Brittany gave, you tried too hard. You tried it. And no, ma'am. I'm glad she didn't, that she's a one and done. But I think that the last most decent thing she could have done was show up at the reunion, and she did not. Now I'm going to get into the recap, but first I like to always talk about looks. I'm also going to confirm with Joey on Wednesday to find out who he was feeling as far as best look. Now let me just say, all of the ladies look great. They were all in yellow. Kelly's face is hidden by my logo, but you can see her dress here. They all look great in their stunning gowns in gold and yellow. But I'm going to have to give best look to none other than Porsha Williams. Child, that fit was everything. She is always flawless, honey. Her body be bodying. I'm not mad. God knows she looked stunning. And on the flip side, I'm going to have to give my least favorite look to Phaedra. Y'all, she just got it all the way wrong. She said that her look was giving jab, the festival they were in Grenada, when, quite frankly, it's giving no ma'am. no ma'am, you look ridiculous, that headpiece, the things dangling on the side. You know, it's kind of just hard to take her serious. It just didn't give what she was trying to give, I suppose. But at any rate, I digress. So let's get into the reunion, y'all. It opens up with everyone arriving to get ready for the reunion. You have a Phaedra arriving first. Child, you see Shamea skipping down the street, honey. She's ready for her first reunion as a main housewife. Don't blame her. Angela is trying to get that wig right because you know on her first episode, Charles called her out, honey. That glue was not laying. She had to go in the bathroom and adjust that wig. So she's not having any more wig issues on the reunion. And child Porsha in there sleeping. And you can tell Yvette, and she in there taking her a good nap. And call time, they're supposed to be on the stage at 9. Y'all, I think she had knocked on Porsha's door at like 8:30. Porsha was in there getting that good sleep, okay? So Phaedra comes in there and finds Porsha sleeping. Then she goes to knock on Brit's door, and honey, there is no Brit to be found, honey. No Brit, no semblance of a teen glam, no dress, no nothing, just empty dressing room. And so she wakes Porsha up to let her know Brit is not here. And by this time, Cynthia joins the ladies, and they discuss Brit ghosting the reunion. Porsha tries to call her. Child goes straight to voicemail. And then we have the ladies starting to arrive to set on stage. Honey, Andy is sitting there, and we are talking 2.5 hours late. Mr. Cohen is a very patient man. Really, guys? 2.5 hours? So they arrive. Shamea's first. And listen, you know, a lot of people are saying Shamea had the best look. I didn't love it. And let me just say this. I didn't love a lot of Shamea's style this season. I liked Shamea. I thought she came in really good. I was like cheering for her, rooting her on. And then, by about episode 6, 7-ish, I just wasn't seeing it for her. And there are reasons why. We'll get into it. I mean, I still think that she's a good addition to the show. I just got disappointed in some of the behavior I saw. I felt like some of her stuff was a shade bit performative. I felt like she played both sides a little bit. Did I think that the breakdown of her and Porsha's friendship was sad? Sure. You know, and a lot of people said Porsha was jealous of her lifestyle. I think that there's some truth to that. And then I also think there's some truth to Shamea wanting to be main peach. And I did feel like there might have been a little bit of something going on Shamea's part. So I don't know. I mean, y'all weigh in the comments and let me know your thoughts. But so everybody's on stage now. And Andy opens up with Porsha and acknowledges her new boobs. Honey, she got them done. They're sitting where they're supposed to be sitting. Then he welcomes Phaedra, Shamea, Angela, Kelli, and Drew. And then he makes the official announcement that Brit will not be joining them. So Kelli basically says, you know, that's very Brit. You know, she's always the one that's trying to play victim and at the same time being a villain. And Phaedra expresses her disappointment because she was saying that, you know, despite what they go through, that these ladies this is a sisterhood, a sorority, if you will. And she found it disappointing that Brit didn't feel like she could reach out to anyone and let them know that she wasn't coming or why she wasn't coming. And Porsha said she actually did talk to her the night before. They talked about the husbands or significant others being there, but there was no mention that Brit had plans to skip the reunion. So there was that. Shamea wanted her there because she really wanted to hold her accountable for the things that she had said and done behind their backs. And then Drew said, well, she had received a text, honey, regarding a lawsuit that was coming her way. And that was regarding Drew's appearance on a podcast by Chase called No Chaser or something like that, where I guess Brit believes that she had something to do with Kenya getting those photos of her. And but again, I don't get it, y'all, because she also said that those photos weren't her. Listen, child, it is so confusing. Y'all weigh in. I mean, it's just a bunch of foolishness. It just was a very, very, very poor casting decision on Bravo's part. And they don't pay for it, y'all. So, per usual, Andy always likes to start off by, welcoming the newbies for their first season. And let me say this, y'all. Shamea, Angela Oakley, and Kelli had a good first season. I think that they were all great additions to the show. I really, 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 and I had to convince Joey of this, but I was always like, it took me a few episodes, but Angela Oakley was my girl. Listen, I stand on it 10 toes. I think she was MVP of the newbies. She has this quiet confidence. She can read without raising her voice. She can take a joke. She can be the butt of a joke. She has been transparent about her life. She has been open and honest about her real estate dealings and the fact that, these properties that she had intended to flip and sell were not selling, and, how it put a financial crunch on her. She's very transparent about the issues that she'd had with her daughter, not letting her know that she'd married. And, the issues with her mom and sister, and then subsequently her mother has passed away. But I just think she had a good season. She let us into her marriage, her and Charles, and some of their woes, and their banter was amazing. Really good addition. Kelli, too. Kelli came in as a little spitball. Very interesting life. You get to meet her daughters, her business, Nana's Chicken and Waffles. She lets us in about her divorce drama. And a very interesting life, came in, her and Brittany were good friends. And then that kind of fell off. But also great. Shamea, too. Who knew that Shamea had this lavish lifestyle? She really kept that, in her pocket when she was a friend of. You got to see her husband, her fertility issues, her baby that is fighting health issues, and her beautiful family and home and lifestyle. So all three of them brought it this season, but I've gotten to say Angela Oakley has really won the hearts of the fans over. So overall, if I had to give season 16 a rating, it would be probably, let's say I'd give it a 7, 6.5 to 7. Y'all slide in the comments and let me know what you would rate this season. So he also commends Angela. He asked, did she bring her fan? She said that she was so excited to meet other people that were hot like her, that also required that fan. And then Shamea was happy to be stepping out of the shadows, being a friend, and letting people into her life. So, and I watched you guys on Peacock. So if you haven't watched the extended version, I suggest you go do it. I did watch it on Bravo Sunday night, but I also watched it on Peacock. Shamea does open up with a prayer. And then Porsha sets an intention after that on wanting to either be able to, get some closure on some things, like heal some things, or just, shut the door forever, basically move on. And so they go to break, and then when they come back, Cynthia joins the couch. Child, listen, they don't normally bring a friend of the show on that fast, but Porsha and Phaedra were looking crazy over there by themselves. There was no Brit, so there was 2 on one side, and then you had Shamea, Angela, Kelli, and then Drew on the other couch. So you had 4 on one side, 2 on the other. It was very unbalanced. So they brought Cynthia out, and Cynthia looked great in her gown as well. And Andy just asked her, how she felt about being a friend. She said that it was basically good for her because she had been through a lot of the things that these ladies had been through. So she kind of acted more of like an advisor, someone that could help mentor. They even called her the glue and the peacekeeper, which is really her role this season. They do talk a little about her boyfriend. They were calling him Amsterdam, but he is, of course, now the tea is that they are not together anymore. But at the time, her boyfriend's name is LaPrince. He is a 39-year-old musician out of Amsterdam. They talked about, the fact that not only does she have a younger man, Phaedra's man, I guess the rent a man that she had on Married to Medicine, child. He's 32. I think. I'm assuming that's Shaq, the same one that she took on the trip that got Apollo and Shireen all out of sorts, child. That one. Mm-hmm. Anyway, honey, now it's time for Porsha. She is in the hot seat. So they do her reel, kind of go over her season. They do end on a sad note. It was really sad to see her lose her cousin Londi. Of course, rightfully so. She was emotional when they came back from showing the footage of her season. Andy says on a good note, though, it was good to see her, back in her home. On the finale, the last part of the episode, they show 5 months later, Porsha is now able to film in the home, so you get to see her home. And she says, yeah. And she clarifies that in the prenup terms, even though, because he asked, whose home is it? Apparently, Simon had bought the home before they got married, but the way that the prenup has set the terms, that home then became marital property. So as marital property, she also is an owner. And then in their agreement, if the marriage was to dissolve, she gets to stay in the home. I think it was 3 to 4 years. Simon is supposed to pay the mortgage on that. And then after that, it's up to her, I guess, whether she buy it from him or sell it, what have you. So then at this point, because I think now we know that Porsha is actually officially divorced from Simon, but at the time of filming, she said the divorce was still stagnant, and she compares it to Kelli, calling it a phantom divorce. Andy asked her about the ICE detention. Well, first he asked her, like, all right, and so where's Simon? Porsha tries to play like she don't really want to talk about it, but Andy's just like, girl, we heard ICE had him. And then she's like, well, yeah, that's true. And Phaedra also co-signed. And so Phaedra confirms that it was due to immigration issues and the fact that he's just currently not a legal citizen here in the United States. And then Kelli kind of questioned her intentions with Simon. And she said, when you asked that, I told you, I was with him. They talk about how she came in saying, Porsha, why'd you take that woman's husband? They go back and show that. And a question is asked whether or not she was doing that to be helpful. And she says, yes. Kelli. Now, I'm not going to lie. Let me just say this from a perspective of we had not seen Porsha since she had been married or with Simon. And so, she was only asking you what we all wanted to know, because that was crazy. I just remember watching or looking at IG and seeing her with Dennis on one side and Simon on the other on Mother's Day, just really confused. And then saying love wins. And I was like, now I know Porsha is not with this girl's child. She was indeed. And so Kelli was asking what we all wanted to know. Porsha basically gave her dust on that. But then she said that, look, we had a conversation as women and we talked about it. She was like, did you get your answer? And she was like, you said you loved him. And Portia's like, yeah. And Kelly's like, but I'm not buying it. So there's that, y'all. They go back and forth about Porsha was trying to say they bonded over dealing with the same thing. Their ex-husband were bashing them online, basically putting their court documents online and all that. And she was like, look, girl, it is not the same. It is not the same, child. I was married for 11 years. You were married for 11 months. She was like, do not compare apples to peaches. I was like, go ahead, Kelli. All right. Now we get over to Miss Angela Oakley, and or a viewer asked Porsha about a question about the comment that she made on Angela's husband. And she was like, it was really, she said that initially that Angela started it, which was not true. It started off with them being at the bank, the restaurant at the bank in Bankhead, and her saying, I heard something about Charles. And so then when they were in Nashville, of course, Angela came back and was like, yeah, so why were you trying to take that woman's husband or taking that woman's husband? And from there, because she was annoyed, she made the comment that I should F Charles. Which, listen, girl, when you already got a reputation of being a husband stealer and you make that comment, first of all, as a woman that's been married, that was lowbrow and it wasn't funny. And I just found it to be disgusting. But nonetheless, she did it, and then you had Shamea over there grinning and all them, y'all. And the whole thing was just wrong. It just was wrong. I know they were drinking, honey. She tries to blame it on the Henny, but it was in poor taste. And Angela handled it better than I would. Because listen, of course, now Porsha does have them hands. So I don't know. Angela, like, she can hold her own, but y'all, Porsha is known to have them hands. So she just kind of excused herself from the trip. But that was wrong. And Porsha apologized. And so then they go to the thing where they said that Angela said that Shamea stated that she was the one that introduced Porsha to Simon. And then Shamea denied it. And Drew backs Angela and says, no, I heard you. I heard you say that. And so it was back in Nashville. They do a playback. And that's not exactly what she said. But let me tell y'all, when I started to kind of not see it for Shamea, it felt like she did a lot of backpedaling. It felt like she was caught in some lies. It just, I don't know. I started to see her in a different light, y'all. Am I out here by myself? Y'all, slide in the comments and let me know your thoughts. It seemed like they caught her in lies. I felt like Shamea did do her fair share of talking about Porsha to the ladies. I believe that. But, I also think that Shamea was hurt by Porsha's lack of support, the lack of reciprocal friendship. And that's all understandable, honey. I would have liked to see her own it a little bit more, or, not flat out say she didn't say it. Because I don't believe all those women were lying. I just don't. And so pretty much they go back and forth on the whole Simon and her thing. And she's like, look, I'll take the heat, whatever it was, I got him, honey. I gave him back. Everybody's moved on now. So just basically let it go. So then viewers ask about, or they comment about how they love seeing Porsha with Dennis on YouTube. And they ask, Pilar get a sibling? And she was like, you know what? That's what I know. That's Dennis is my family. That's why I got so upset when, Drew was going to film with him, because, that's my person. That's my co-parent. That's my family. We sit up and we key together. And then Kelli makes the comment, yeah, all up in that man's house. And Porsha's like, all up in who house? That's my house. And then they go back and forth with it. She's like, well, did you stay in the house? She's like, oh, no, honey. Kelly's like, I left my house. She was like, you must not have had a good prenup. And she was like, I'm happy. She was like, and you look it. Y'all, then we get down to Drew and Porsha. Honey, Andy calls out Drew for calling Porsha a try-hard on a podcast. And Drew stood by it. She was like, yeah, I think her debut flopped and it came across as a try-hard. They go back and they show. So I might have spoke out of turn. So the comment that she made about Brit may not have been on that same podcast, but the comment that she made about Porsha was actually on the No Chaser podcast. So Porsha had, we all know that it became her storyline, which I thought was so ridiculous, that Drew was trying to get at Dennis, that Drew was trying to sleep with him, that there was an inappropriate relationship with him, and she did not want Dennis to film with Drew. Now, she kept doubling back, even when, Shamea went in hot, asking Drew, did she F Dennis and all this and the third? And they said, well, yeah, Porsha did not want Shamea to do that. And that's why I almost call Angela Marlowe, because there's something about them that remind me of each other. Not the nastiness, but I think it's the statue and kind of the look. I don't know. Y'all let me know if you think so. But they were basically saying, look, Porsha had told you to leave it alone, Shamea. And then Porsha doubles down and says, yeah, that's because I wanted it to be focusing on the fact that I did not want Drew to film with Dennis. that it really didn't have anything to do with whether she cared about their personal relationship. Child, I don't believe it. Don't believe it for 1 minute. However, Drew was not having a child. She was like, listen, you used me all season as a storyline. She was like, honey, it's giving flop. She was like, Simon Says, you don't have no storyline. Y'all, best read of the night, hands down. Drew did that, and Porsha could say nothing. Y'all, Simon Says, you ain't got no storyline, boo. And Simon's right. Porsha's storyline was weak. I mean, to use that, Drew and Dennis, I mean, then Cynthia tried to help, like, you're in the business, like, why Dennis, and I agree. She could have worked with, there's so many producers in Atlanta, but regardless, her music came out good. Even Porsha said it was some damn good music. And so I found that insulting to us to even make that a storyline. I was disappointed in that. However, y'all, at the point it gets down to, Porsha apologizes for filming with Ralph. That was petty. Andy asked, did she do it to be petty? She admitted that. And that's what I wanted to see more of. Admit it. Admit it when you do something shady. Admit it when you say something. Stand on business, right? The reunion is for that. And then if you want to make amends, do that. She was like, yeah, it was petty. And then Shamea is sitting there looking crazy because Shamea is the one that kind of set it up. Remember, her and Ralph were meeting because they were going to talk about the podcast they were going to do together. And Porsha just fell out the sky and joined them for dinner. Yeah. Okay. At any rate, honey, Porsha decides that it's time for some squash. She gets up and she gives Drew a hug. They apologize. So it seems for now, they're done. And then we talk about Kelli and Brit's friendship fallout. Kelli really talks about, she was really, really butthurt about that whole glam team thing. She was like, when Brit came on, she did not have glam. I felt like I should extend this to her as a friend. But she said at no point did she ever mean that take my glam squad and use them forever. And Andy was like, well, did you pay for it? And she's like, no, whatever services that she used, she did in fact pay for them. But I guess from her perspective was, look, I was doing you a favor. But that doesn't mean I want you to hijack my whole entourage of glam and, just start using my resources for your own. I guess I can get it. It sounded a little silly, but I mean, sure, I'll give her that. She basically talks about the friendship just pretty much being one-sided, that she didn't feel it was equally yoked, that Brit did not do for her the things she did. She mentions her coming over with the IV drip after the whole Kenya fallout thing to make her feel better. She talked about being loyal and even co-signing on Brit's attempts to go after Angela, calling, talking about Charles having a side baby. And, Brit or Kelli had to apologize for that because she said she now knows exactly what it feels like to be lied on. And of course, we know that the biggest fallout toward the end when Brit and Kelli go at it, Kelli basically alludes to the fact that Brit has a pill popping problem. And then Brit, in turn, accuses her of having multiple abortions while she was married. And so Kelli says that is not true. After her twins, she had her tubes tied, so she couldn't have a baby if she wanted to. But the accusation was out there, and she said, now that's the conversation I'm going to have with my daughters. So, yeah, their friendship basically unraveled. She also gets into how Andy asked her about when she was going to open her new location for Nana's Chicken and Waffles. She was sued for $100,000 of back rent from the space that she was going to use for her restaurant, that and fees. She said that she had made a lump sum amount paid to that so that the restaurant would be opening soon. Andy with his shady self says, spring, summer, kind of like a reference back to Cherie when they kept asking her when was She by Sheree going to come out. Yeah, kind of like that whole Neverland type thing. Yeah. But nonetheless, Kelli does let them know, look, my divorce was expensive. It cost me $200,000. They bring up her security guard, Kitty, and I thought it was kind of messed up how they started to act like she made the whole thing up, that she only had her bodyguard for the show, when in fact Kelli had said that she had felt unsafe because of, you know, her ex-husband's threats towards her. And at one point she had to make get a restraining order. And Porsha and Phaedra kind of tried to dismantle that by saying anybody can get one. And Kelli says, no, you have to have cause. And Phaedra explains, you know, anybody can say they have cause. And if said person that you accuse those things of don't show up for court, they will grant anyone a restraining order. Child, I don't know. I don't live in Georgia. But I thought that was pretty messed up that they kind of tried to downplay her, you know, her story of feeling unsafe or abused. And the fact that she felt that she needed extra protection. So I thought that was pretty low. Nonetheless, honey, it's Housewives. And so then, y'all, we get down to the last part of the reunion, which is Miss Angela Oakley. They do her montage. She had a good season. And then we get to the whole thing with her confronting Phaedra about the man that showed up at Kelli's cook-off, Marcus, and that she set the whole thing up to have her look bad. And y'all, I don't know. This is where I need y'all to weigh in and let me know your thoughts. So my thoughts, she brought her receipts saying that this guy, Marcus, his aunt, went to school with Phaedra's oldest brother. They're all from Athens. They know each other. Athens apparently is small. They have 3 middle schools and 2 high schools, child. You know, back when Phaedra was trying to make sure Nene knew her. So it's kind of like a flip back, like, girl, you know who they are. And Phaedra kept saying, look, I've been on the show 10 days. What would I have to gain? Why would I do that? I don't know, y'all, because Phaedra can lie. But it looked crazy when Angela tried to pull out her receipts, and she's basically pulling out pictures of people that, you know, Phaedra knows of that still didn't prove anything. And the story just sounded so stupid, the way the guy said it, talking about Junebug and she's the godfather. I'm not buying it. You know, there are words that the word out there is that Angela put the thing together herself to kind of give herself kind of like a cliffhanger storyline. I hope not, because she didn't need to do that. Time will tell, y'all. That's basically how part 1 ended. Kind of cliffhangers hangs there with her accusing her of Porsha saying that, you know, she didn't believe it. And Angela's like, you know, I don't know why you're so quick to believe her, particularly with the fact that who else should know better that Phaedra lies than Porsha? We all know that story when she set her up with the whole Candy accusation of, you know, allegedly trying to entice Porsha into some things. So, yeah, which got Phaedra booted off the show, the whole that they were going to set her up to be SA'd. So, y'all, there you have it. I mean, it was a decent part 1. I'm looking forward to part 2, to getting more into it. I guess the husband is going to come out, and some of the other guys, and we're going to figure out what else. Again, overall, I would give the season, I'm going to stick with my 6.5. Y'all let me know what you'd rate season 16, how you felt about the newbies, how you felt about the drama. Do you feel like Shamea was being honest? Because somebody was lying. Did you feel like the hug and the reconciliation between Porsha and Drew was sincere? Because I don't. Gosh, just weigh in, y'all. Let me know your thoughts. And do not forget to tune in on Wednesday, where I'll be joined with my Bravo bestie, Joey, and we'll be bringing you the recap on the Valley, along with our thoughts on Love Island, McBee Dynasty. There's some tea there, child, if y'all are watching. And our thoughts on Real Housewives of Miami. And we'll throw in some Orange County in there too, y'all. So you got to come back and check us out. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. And again, like this video, subscribe if you hadn't, hit that notification bell so you'll be the first to know when we come back. All right, guys, have a good one. Bye.